Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight for our family travel night here on Google Plus Hangouts. Happy to welcome you all to join us to talk about Fiji, one of our favorite destinations to book for our clients and especially families, and one of our favorite guests, one of our favorite people to have come and hang out with us in the office, and we're so glad that he could come and join us online tonight, and that's Andrew Bartholomew from Travel2, who Mimi will tell you a little bit more about in a minute. For those of you that are new to joining us, I'm Ryan McGredy, president of Moraga Travel and Woodland Travel, and also along with me is my sister and partner in crime and business, Mimi Cassidy, travel expert, family travel expert extraordinaire. And so we'll have our guest Andrew go through Fiji and what kind of exciting things await there for your families. And Mimi and I, of course, will be up to our usual hijinks and chiming in, adding our perspective as things go along. You'll notice in your Google Plus Hangout window, there's a questions pane over on the right. So if whatever strikes your mind as we're going along and going through talking about Fiji, if you have a question or you want to say something silly or you want to see one of us wear a pirate hat or whatever, just throw whatever comes in your mind in that question pane, and I promise you we'll address it as we go along. So with that, I'll go ahead and throw it over to Mimi to introduce our special guest, Andrew Bartholomew.
Well, we're so excited to have Andrew on tonight. He's with Travel2. They do many destinations, Travel2 and Islands in the Sun. It's two companies, and they work together. And they do many destinations, but Fiji is one of our favorite destinations for families. So we really wanted to have Andrew come on and share his expertise with everyone and really put it into your minds about how easy it is to get there and how much fun it is for families. Fiji is just a lovely place with wonderful people, and there's no better to explain it than Andrew, and we're so excited to go through his presentation with him. And if you have any questions, please do let us know on the question panel, and we'll be happy to get them answered for you. So, Andrew, turn it over to you.
Well, thank you very much, Mimi, and thank you, Ryan. It's great to be a part of this. It's a great experience for me. It's my first Google Hangout, so thank you for bearing with me through it all as well. And yes, as Mimi said, Fiji is one of my favorite destinations as well, and definitely a very popular place for families. A lot of people don't think of Fiji as a family destination, particularly the US market, because it tends to be more of a honeymoon type destination. But thanks to the Aussies, it's a very, very big family destination. So without further ado, let me get everything going with my presentation, and we'll explain to you all why. All right, can everybody see what's going on here now? Okay, so Fiji. Let's start with getting there. So Fiji Airways is the national carrier of Fiji. They've recently branded. You might have heard of Air Pacific before. That's the old name. Same company, but they've just rebranded. They've completely revamped their entire airline. Brand new aircraft, a whole new Fijian theme and feel and everything like that. And I have to say that the old aircraft we're a little old. These new ones are brand new. They're beautiful. It's a very comfortable way to get down to Fiji now. As you can see, the business class is now an international standard business class. So it's a fully flat bed. It's definitely what you'd expect on these long haul flights. And then even in economy, it's still very comfortable. There's plenty of room. It's a 2-4-2 configuration, as you can see. So nobody's more than one seat away from the aisle, which definitely helps. For the kids, it's fully interactive with the screen in front of them. So you've got a whole bunch of movies, you've got games, you've got all sorts of things to keep them amused for the flight down there. In terms of getting there, they now have daily flights out of Los Angeles, which is great, which is a fantastic thing that they've done. Now they have these new aircraft, they're able to do daily flights. It's a 11:30 p.m. departure. which works really well. So you can connect from anywhere to Los Angeles to get down to Fiji. The flight itself is about 10 hours. While that sounds long, it really doesn't feel that long, particularly when you've got so much to do on board the aircraft. As I said, you leave about 11 o'clock at night, so it's a red eye. You get on board, you can watch a movie, have some dinner, fall asleep, wake up, have breakfast, and you're in Fiji. What's better than that, really? All food is included, all alcohol is included, so you don't have to worry about anything like, all meals are for free. Movies are free and everything. So it's really a great way to get there now.
I have to say, for me, two things about this airline that are huge for when I'm flying with my kids is, one, having those TV screens in the back makes such a big difference, especially on the longer flights. I've actually so now with my kids, if we go on a flight that happens to not have TV screens in the back of the seats, they're confused. They're looking around for them. They're like, where does the TV come out from? So that's great that they put those in the plane. And I also like that they have the remotes that come away from the back of the seat, being a parent, because when it's only the touch screen, my kids, especially the older boys, they hit that thing so hard and they're constantly playing with it that the poor person in front of me can't rest because they're always moving the seat. So it's cool that the equipment they chose has the remote that comes off the back of the seat too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that doubles as the remote for the games. There's in-seat chat. There's all sorts of things. So, and you're right. Like, having someone behind you who's trying to push the touch screen the whole time, it can be a little disturbing. So it's really good to have the whole remote thing they have right there, definitely. Once you arrive in Fiji, immediately you're immersed in what they call the Bula culture. So, Bula means hello in Fijian, and when you're in Fiji, you'll hear this everywhere. Everywhere you go, everyone's saying Bula. Even actually when you get on board the aircraft, they're going to say Bula. It's a very friendly welcome, something you're going to get very used to. The Fijians are officially, because they have been voted, the friendliest people in the world, and they are without a doubt. They're just incredible. They always greet you with a friendly smile and a big Bula welcome, and they'll remember you as well. So speaking from first-hand knowledge, I was there last year, in July last year, and it was about 5 years since my last trip to Fiji. I walked into a hotel, the manager's there, it's like, oh, hi Andrew, how you doing? Good to see you again. I'm like, oh, hi, nice to see you. Like, yeah, I remember when you were down here about 5 years ago, I was managing the hotel down the street. And I was so blown away. I could not believe that, he remembered me by first name. And that's the Fijian spirit. It really is. Like, they will remember you. It doesn't matter if you go back 5 years, 10 years later, even your kids, they'll remember them if they come back to a resort for their honeymoon. The staff will remember them for when they were, traveling with you guys as little kids. It's just incredible. Like, the Fijian people are amazing. That's really what makes the destination, is just the welcoming and the friendliness of the Fijian people themselves.
And Andrew, they love little kids. They've been known to just, if you're sitting at your restaurant and you have little kids, they'll scoop them up, they'll take them in the back, they'll kiss your kids all up. They really, really love kids. It's just such a community that just, a country that just loves kids.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and that's the perfect way to describe it. Maybe they just love them. It's quite amazing. It doesn't matter if they've never met you before. They'll go straight for your kids first, and not in a bad way, but honestly, they go there because they just really want to be with your kids and play with them and look after them, and it's just incredible. Their whole culture in their villages is, everybody kind of lives together and they all work together as one big unit. But they encompass everyone. Doesn't matter if you're young or old or whatever. You walk into their village, and you're gonna be part of that village straight away. And yeah, you're right. With the kids, they just absolutely love them. Like, I can't stress that enough. It's kind of something that you have to go there to experience. But yeah, the way they treat children is quite special, definitely. So quickly looking at a map of Fiji, the Fijian Islands encompass 333 islands. The main ones are here. So Viti Levu is technically the mainland. Nadi, or Nadi, pronounced Nandi, is the main international air gateway. Suva on the other side of the island is the capital of the country, and that is the mainland. Vanua Levu to the north is the second biggest island in Fiji. Um, it's a lot more remote. There's not a great deal of people up there, but there's some great resorts. There's a lot of diving up there. Some of the most world famous diving sites are up there. Then there's Taveuni, so that's all encompassed in the northern division, as they call it. Closer to the mainland and a little bit easier to get to, the Mamanuca Islands and the Yasawa Group. So they're the main tourist areas within Fiji, which encompass a fair amount of the islands, but there's still a lot of areas which are kind of not as touristy. These are the main kind of areas that we're going to kind of focus on tonight, is these areas here. So as we've mentioned, Fiji is fantastic for kids, fantastic for families, anything from multi-generational, so grandparents to kids and all that sort of stuff. They really encompass everybody at their resorts. So everything, from toddlers to teens, as it says again, there's lots of kid clubs at different resorts. There's different kids clubs depending on their ages. But again, it really doesn't matter how old they are. Everyone's going to love Fiji. As I mentioned earlier, everybody thinks of Fiji as a honeymoon, coupley type destination. While from the North American market, yes, it kind of is a bit of that way, but it really isn't. It's the #1 family destination for Australians, mainly because of proximity. It's only about a 4-hour flight from Sydney, 3 hours from Brisbane. But they're very well set up for the whole family market. And as Moo mentioned, Fijians that love kids, so it's a great way to do it, definitely. So once you arrive in Nadi, which is the main international air gateway, there's a few ways to get around the country. Getting up to the north, which, as I said, is more of the kind of the diving place and that sort of stuff. It is another flight, so it's a domestic flight. It takes about 45 minutes to an hour to get up to Savisavu or up to Taveuni. On smaller aircraft, as you can see in the pictures, part of Air Pacific, so you can connect straight through if you wish. There's also charter flights with with island hoppers, but the only way to get up to that area really is to fly. Again, if you're a little nervous with the smaller aircraft and that sort of thing, there are other areas we can look at, such as the Mamanucas or the Asawas. So they're the closer ones to Nadi, and as you can see here, this area here is the Mamanucas, this area is the Asawas. Both are accessible via launch, so via ferries. There's regular ferry services that go out there. Also, you can get there by helicopter and by seaplane. So there's definitely a few options to get out that way.
And Andrew, you said you leave LAX at 11:30 at night. What time do you arrive in Nadi?
Right, so the flights depart around 11 p.m. out of LA. They arrive into Nadi at around 5 o'clock in the morning. So it's definitely a good time to arrive because it's easy to connect out to the outer islands from there. No matter which form of transport you take, you can connect to the outer islands from Los Angeles in the same day, no problem. You don't have to stay on the mainland at all if you don't want to. Likewise on the return, the flights out of Nadi heading back to Los Angeles leave at about 10 o'clock at night. So again, there's no issues connecting through from the outer islands back to the airport. I do kind of recommend doing a day room or something like that within the Nadi area, just because, particularly if you're coming in from a ferry, it's hot, you get wet from the sea breeze, all that sort of stuff. It's nice to have somewhere to, change, have a shower, have some dinner and that sort of stuff before you go to the airport to come back. But yeah, there's no issues. You don't have to overnight either side of your trip to and from Fiji. So it works really well with the flight times. Red eyes both directions, which means great thing for your kids because they'll sleep in both directions. Fingers crossed. So as I mentioned, on the mainland, Denarau Island is probably, I guess, the most built-up area within Fiji for tourists. It's very close to the airport. It's only about a 20-minute commute from the airport. It technically is an island. As you can see here, it's separated by a river. This area is where you're going to find all your large mainstream resorts. So as you can see, there's the Sheratons, there's the Radisson, the Sofitel, there's the Hilton. All the big name resorts are here within the Denarau complex. It is a gated community. There are 3 golf courses within Denarau. There's the marina as well. So if you're connecting out to the outer islands, this is actually where you leave from. But around the marina is a village which has shops, restaurants, bars, all sorts of things. So if you're looking for a more active trip, this is definitely the place to be because there's so much going on here. So as I said, there's golf, there's tennis, there's all the sport, all sort of different sports. There's the marina with restaurants and stuff. They have what's called the Bulla Bus, which is a trolley that goes between the resorts and down to the marina. So you can catch this whenever you want to. You can go to the different resorts for dinner, for lunch, that sort of thing. You can use the spas of the different resorts. You can get to the sporting facilities, all that sort of stuff is in very easy reach. So it's very well set up here for families, and for more active families that want a lot of stuff to do, this is a great place to go.
Having said that, had a question pop in. Kes is asking, when traveling with the family, is it better to stay at one island or to island hop?
That's a good question. I think it really depends, again, on how long you have. Island hopping within Fiji is honestly, it's not the easiest thing to do. Because the ferries run kind of daily. So, I mean, you could go between the islands within the Mamanuthas or within the Asawas, but getting from, say, Castaway, which we'll talk about in the Mamanuthas, up to the north part, up to like John Michel Cousteau or something like that, up in the north of Fiji, it's quite difficult to get to. So that's why I would say if you're staying for a longer period of time, yeah, you can do it, but it's going to take the better part of a day to get from one resort to another. So if you're going for, a week or less than a week, I would tend to stay in one spot.
I totally agree too, because a lot of these resorts have so much to do and have day trips within the islands, and there's so much to do that, I mean, it really is going to take 7 to 10 days to even explore where you're at. And island hopping, you would be leaving stuff behind that you wanted to do. And I do agree with, if you're taking a half a day or a day to travel, you're also taking out when, you could really explore the island that you are on. And there would be so much to do by doing day trips and different things to see. I think that's a good question.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even if you're going for, say, a week, I would do a couple of days in Denarau, and then the bulk of the time at one of the close islands. So you do get, a couple of different areas, but you're not jumping around too much. And Denarau being on the mainland is quite easy to get to. And as you'll see later, there's a lot of other things you can do on the mainland. So you can have kind of a very active few days on the mainland and then have a couple of relaxing days out on the islands. So here's a couple more images of the Denarau area. As I mentioned, the village, there's a Hard Rock Cafe there. They have a whole bunch of, different activities and stuff going on within the little square there. And again, the hotels there are quite large, so it's definitely much more of an international type resort. So you've got the Hiltons, you've got the Sheratons, as I mentioned. And as you can see there, they're definitely, the big resorts that you would experience in places like Hawaii or southern Florida and that sort of thing. So while it is great because there's a lot of facilities there, it's not really the true Fiji because you're still in a much more built-up area. Again, here's an image of the port. So this is where you're going to transfer to get out to the islands anyway. That's why I say it's quite a good place if you're wanting to stop over because you have to get there anyway to go to the outer islands. So it works quite well because they're going to be there anyway. So that's why I mentioned that one. Another resort on the mainland is Sonosali, or Sonosali Island Resort. Quite similar to Denarau in that it's separated from the mainland by a river. It's about a 40-45 minute ride from Nandi Airport, but it is within the mainland, so it's easy access. If you're more interested in getting into town, to go shopping, to experience the way of life of the locals, then it's a good place to stay. It is, I would say, about a 4-star, 3.5 to 4-star. So it's a bit of a lower end property. But this one has, if you want activities, this is the place to go to have the island feel and the activities. So they have everything. So they have a fantastic kids club. As you can see here, they have a swim-up bar at their main pool. They've got a couple of restaurants. They've got horse riding on the beach. They've got a small little putt-putt golf course. So it's not quite, the international golf courses you have in Denarau, but they do have a little golf course there. They even have paintball, so you can go out to their paintball course. There's a nightclub. There's a whole bunch of different activities you can do out there. So it's quite a good resort. Definitely a little bit lower end, but a lot of things to do there for sure. Also, they have once a week they have a fire dancing ceremony or fire walking ceremony, which is quite amazing. So we were lucky enough to experience this when we were down there last year, and to see these people walk across the hot coals it hurts my own feet to watch it, but it's amazing that they can do it and they come off unscathed and good to go, and that doesn't even bother them. But that's an experience in itself, definitely.
So, Andrew, for a resort like this, you mentioned being 3.5, 4-star. What kind of rate range, like low season, high season, would you see for a place like this?
Oh, that's a good question. Off the top of my head, I don't know exactly, so don't hold me to it. But I would say, a couple of $100 a night. Say maybe, let's say 200 roughly average. It definitely is a lot lower end in terms of pricing, but you're getting a lot of facilities, and you're getting the access to the mainland, which is great. So you could come to some.
Mind with Fiji is that everything in Fiji is going to be at a lower price point when you're looking at something like Hawaii, or even to the other extreme, Tahiti. And there's going to be a lot more included. Pretty much every place, correct me if I'm wrong, Andrew, breakfast is going to be included, and a lot of them include all of your meals. And it's actually going to be a much lower price point than what you would expect from Hawaii and what you would expect from Tahiti.
Yeah, that's a really good point to make, Mimi. It is. It's the Fijian dollar is considerably lower than than the US dollar, than the euro and that sort of thing. So yeah, your money goes a hell of a lot further in Fiji. People have a perception of Fiji as being, because it's so exotic, because it's far away, but it's not really that far away. But people think of that, so they think it's more exotic, but they think it's unreachable for families and affordable vacations. But honestly, it's not. Yes, it's a 10-hour flight, which, as I've talked about before, is very easy for a 10-hour flight. but once you're there, your dollar goes so far, and it's so affordable. There's something for everybody in Fiji, right from the low end, right up to the high end. In terms of, you mentioned inclusive, so yes, a lot of the resorts will include breakfast. We can organise meal plans for the resorts they stay at, that your clients stay at. I definitely recommend doing that, just so then you don't have to worry about your meals and that sort of thing. But in terms of all-inclusive, to be honest, there really isn't anything in the South Pacific, and there's one real reason why that is, and that comes down to the Australians. No offence to my people because I love them, but Australians would drink them out of business, to be honest. We do love to drink, and that's why there's no all-inclusives in the South Pacific, because of that very reason. So they don't include drinks, but Fiji, drinks are very affordable. You know, it's almost like going to, you know, Mexico and that sort of thing, where beer is usually cheaper than water anyway. So you're good to go, definitely.
Yeah, and you know, when it comes to Fiji versus Hawaii, I think people think, oh, that's a long flight, but you know, with young kids, there's very little difference between a 10-hour flight and a 5-hour flight. It's really, they're both long. And I think if you can, you know, if you can do, I'd much rather do 10 hours with, you know, where they're going to be sleeping most of the time on a nicely equipped plane that, you know, has the TVs and that kind of, then 5 hours, you know, cooped up in, you know, back economy with, you know, on an old plane or whatever that, you know, so I agree. I don't think that, you know, people think of that flight, but it's really not that far, or it doesn't really fly that long, especially with the kids.
Yeah, you're right, and I mean, yeah, it's not that long of a flight. It sounds long, but it's really not. And when you think about it, flying from the West Coast, from, you know, San Francisco, LA to London is what, 11, 12 hours?
That's right.
Fiji's only 10, so it's really not that far, and it's an overnight flight, so it makes it a lot easier. So moving on out to the Mamanuca Islands, which is the closest island group to the mainland. One resort that I particularly like out here for families is Castaway. So it's definitely a more upmarket resort. You're looking at about 4.5 to 5 star. Actually, I sent my sister and her family there last year, and they absolutely loved it. Every time I see my little niece, who's 4, she always comes up to me and says "Bula," which is adorable, I have to say.
And this is a really active resort. This is a resort that you can easily spend 7 to 10 days on, and you will never be bored because there's so much to do at this resort.
That's right. Yeah. So it's about a hour and a half. Well, I'd say about an hour ferry ride out from Denarau. So that's one way to get there. Again, you can get there by seaplane. They don't have a helicopter pad here. Oh no, they do have a helicopter, so you can get there by helicopter as well. It's a 13-minute helicopter ride from Nandi Airport, so it's definitely an easy way to do it. But the ferry is quite nice because it's a nice scenic cruise throughout the islands to get out there. Once you're there, as you can see, there's actually 2 beaches here. So there's the main beach, which is here in the foreground, and then just behind over here, I don't know if you can see my arrow, but just over here on the far right-hand side of the picture is the other beach. Both are beautiful white sandy beaches, and being quite a small resort, you're not going to have a lot of people, but as Mimi mentioned, there's a ton of activities, particularly for families out here. Everything from, there's a kids club where they'll do face painting and all sorts of things, plus stuff for the adults as well. So it's a really good option to get out to Castaway Island Resort, definitely. One thing to know about Fiji is it's quite tidal. So if you're staying on the mainland, at low tide, there's going to be, some kind of mud and coral flats, so it's a long way out to the water. And the beaches themselves on the mainland are not that great. It's very scenic, but you're not going to get the white sandy beaches which you think of Fiji as having. So you really need to get out to the outer islands, such as Castaway, to experience the beautiful white beaches that you would expect to find in Fiji. So moving on now up to the north, Jean-Michel Cousteau. A lot of you would know him as the famous diver and marine biologist, that sort of thing. This is his resort that he actually owns. It's up on the north part of Fiji, so as I mentioned, it's about a 45-minute to an hour flight from Nadi Airport, the main international gateway. This is definitely a 5-star resort. I've stayed at this resort and it is beautiful. It is what they call all-inclusive in the South Pacific, which includes your meals but not drinks, as I've mentioned why before. But it's about as all-inclusive as you can get when you're down there. What I really like about this resort is the rooms are great. Oh, one thing to mention about the rooms, there's no air conditioning. You might find that quite unusual for a 5-star resort, but you don't need it. You really don't. You open the louvers, you get the beautiful, cool sea breeze at night, and you can hear the water. It's amazing. They have their own private island across from their beach here, which you can go out to for picnics, for snorkeling. It's incredible. They have a whole bunch of different activities for everybody in terms of, within the marine park, because it's actually in a marine park, about, ecology and all that sort of stuff. So the picture you see here is the adults pool. So you can be very separate from your kids while you're here. The reason I like this hotel for families, when you arrive, each family is assigned a nanny, and that nanny will be with you for your entire stay at the hotel. So they'll come and they'll pick up your kids early in the morning, take them to the kids club. They have their own pool, their own facilities and everything, which is separate from this. If you want to dine with your kids, you can. For lunch, for dinner, they can come to the main dining area during the early seating. So it's a little bit earlier on. I think there's a bit of a time limit. And then, so if you want to dine with them for dinner, you can as well. So you can see them, but you don't have to see them for a whole week if you don't want to. They're completely separate from this area. They're looked after, no worries. They'll take them back to your room at night. They'll put them to bed and they'll babysit them until you come back to your room at night. So it's really a vacation for everybody, this resort. So as I mentioned, Fiji is not just all about kids. It's very much an adult's playground as well. There's some of the most world-renowned spas within Fiji. I'm going to mention Namali. Namali is an adults-only resort, but they do have the best resort in the South Pacific. The best spa in the South Pacific. Just gives you an idea that of the magnitude of what you can do down there. Anything is possible. You can get a massage, as you can see, in the water. They have a whole bunch of different treatments that you can do. It's fantastic. Speaking from personal experience, I've had a few massages in Fiji, and again, it's just the most amazing experience. The people being so friendly kind of helps. It kind of just adds to it because it's a great experience, definitely. Great way to escape. While your kids are at the kids club, you can head to the spa and have a nice romantic massage, couples massage, or not if you don't want to, with beautiful outlooks and What more could you ask for, really? Talking about diving,
We have a
Fiji.
question on the
Yeah,
Jean Michel resort. The Jean
yeah.
Michel. No, someone wants to know: is the nanny included, or is that a separate price? Apparently, the nanny, the personal nanny thing perked my ears. Apparently, got interest in the gallery as well.
That's included. That's all part of it. If you book a package and you have kids included, they will be there. Your nanny will be there at reception when you check in to greet your kids and take them away straight away if you like. They can go straight to the kids club and you won't see them until checkout. So it's
I
really
feel
quite
like
a.
you see them enough on the 10-hour flight that, then when you get to the resort, you'd be ready to just hand them off to your wonderful nanny that you'll probably want to take home afterwards, right?
Well, that's the thing. Like, your kids get to know these nannies so well, again, because the Fijians are the most friendly people in the world, and they love kids so much that they get to know them so intimately. I can almost guarantee that there won't be a dry eye in the house when you're leaving. Oh, that's the other thing I forgot to mention. When you arrive in Fiji, they have their welcome song, which they sing, which is a beautifully Fijian song, and it kind of gets you into the Fijian whole mood as soon as you arrive. When you leave, they sing their farewell song, and it is emotional. Like, I don't care who you are, I promise you, you'll be wanting to cry if you're not crying. Um, Again, I was there in July. We were spending one night at different resorts, bouncing around the country. And the people I was with, after one night, they were in tears leaving the resorts because of the song, because you bond with the people so fast in Fiji. So yeah, your kids are not going to want to leave. I'm telling you right now. Neither are you guys. So as I was talking before, diving, it's without a doubt one of the best diving places in the world. As you can see here, it is the soft coral capital of the world. And that's up in the north, so that's up here by the number 6. This is where all the soft coral is. Down here on the mainland by number 2 and 1 and 2 and like 3 and 4 down here is hard coral. So it's really cool because you get a combination of both. You can, if you really want to dive, you can dive on the mainland. You can get the hard coral, then you can fly up to the north, to Tabayuni, to Savu, and experience the soft coral. So Tabayuni, which is a small island just here to the right of the number 6, is with one of the most world-renowned diving places in the world. There are not really a great deal of kids resorts there, but there's a lot of dive-specific resorts there. So if you really want to dive, that's where the hardcore divers go, to that area. Savu, which is just to the left of the number 6, which is here. That's where Jean-Michel Cousteau is, and that's where Namali is. So you've got some amazing resorts, some very dive-focused resorts there as well. That whole area is kind of the main soft coral dive area up there. So yeah, it's a great place to dive, definitely. Oh, I forgot to mention, sorry, let's go back to diving real quick. Benga Lagoon, Beqa is pronounced Benga, is down here by number 3. So I don't know if you can see my arrow, but down here is where they have the shark amphitheater. So you go down, you dive down, and it's a natural amphitheater which you kind of dive into, and sharks come in, and it's a feeding frenzy above you with all the reef sharks and everything, and that is meant to be one of the most amazing experiences you can have. I'm not a diver myself, but if I was, I would love to experience that because it's meant to be amazing.
Can you get diving certifications when you're there, or do you have to come with your own certs?
Absolutely. A lot of the resorts have the PADI certified dive centers. So yeah, absolutely, you can definitely get your certification while you're down there. You can do a resort dive while you're down there as well, so you can try it out, see if you like it. Yeah, absolutely, you can definitely get it down there. Yeah.
And if you're like an open certified, you can just like contract a boat and have them take you out to like a different place and really do, something more private with just a guide, correct?
Yeah, of course. We have different dive packages that we can do. So, 4 dives, 6 dives, that sort of stuff. We can organise that for you. But yeah, you'll go out with a proper guide. They'll take you to the good areas, and yeah, absolutely. We've even got the what's it called, the nitrox dives, that sort of thing. We can organise that for you as well. So yeah, definitely. Doesn't matter if you're a beginner or an expert diver. Yeah, there's definitely all the options there. So talking about land activities, when it comes to this sort of stuff, a lot of it, the bulk of it, is based on the mainland. So where you fly into, so as I mentioned, sort of Sali, Denarau, that sort of area. Um, People think of Fiji as ocean and beaches, but there's a lot to do on the land. As you can see here, there's whitewater rafting. You can go mountain biking. They do have a jet boat there, zip lining. The Lobo is same as, what do they call it in Hawaii?
Andrew?
A luau in Hawaii. So,
Yeah, Moss wants to know about the Lovo Lovo, what he's building with the leaves. That's what Moss wants to ask.
yeah, so that's similar to a luau in Hawaii. That's how they cook their food. So they build a fire, and then let it burn down to the coals, and then they bury their food in the coals and cover it with the banana leaves, and that's how they steam the food that way. So it has the smoky taste to it and that sort of stuff. It's quite similar to Hawaii, to Tahiti, the Polynesian culture, and that sort of thing. Um, yeah, so that's how they do it. It's quite interesting. They eat a lot of like roots, like taro root and like sweet potato type thing. A lot of starchy type foods, which are found naturally within Fiji, and of course seafood, and fish, and that sort of stuff. So they put all of that in under the coals and smoke it through the banana leaves.
Look like.
He would also like to know what the zip line goes across.
It goes over the canopy of the rainforest. So it's in an area called Pacific Harbour. It's about an hour and a half from Sonasali, so it's about 2 hours from Nandi. But it's the adventure capital of Fiji. So that's where the Sigatoka River is, where you can go the jet boat riding. That's where the zip line is. That's where you go out to Benga Lagoon, where you can go diving. As I mentioned, you can also do sea kayaking, which is a really cool thing. I've done it myself. You go out to the Benga Island. It takes a while to get out there on the boat. Once you're there, you go through an inland waterway through the island. So from one side of the island to the other in a kayak, and it's such a cool experience. It's so awesome. But in terms of the zip line, it's down that way. They have a few different runs that goes across the canopy of the rainforest.
Thank you. Can you say thank you, Moss?
No worries. So of course, Fiji, island destination. It's all about water activities as well. So they have everything from parasailing, helicopter tours, kite surfing, as I mentioned, the sea kayaking. Surfing is huge in Fiji. It's one of the world-renowned surf spots. It's very advanced. So one thing to know, you need to be an expert surfer to surf there. It's all reef break, so it's similar to the North Shore of Hawaii, so it's very shallow water, but it's a long way out too. So you get on a boat, they take you all the way out to the reefs, which is a long way from the land, and they surf there. But yeah, but anything and everything you can think of, they have all the water-based activities, obviously. Generally speaking, the resorts include non-motorized activities, so anything from parasailing to kayaking to anything like that. Snorkeling is included. They'll have the equipment there ready for use. Anything that's motorized, so jet skis or parasailing, there's usually a charge involved for that. Moving on to the Fijian culture, I've talked about how they're the friendliest people in the world. They definitely are. Again, I've got first-hand knowledge of this. It's just incredible. They will invite you into their villages, which is a must. If you're going to Fiji, you have to go to a Fijian village because it's just, to see how they live is, technically it is a third world country. I think it's 60% of the Fijian population live below the poverty line. However, they might not be wealthy monetarily, but they're wealthy in life. They have food, they have, a place to live, that sort of thing, and they're happy people. They really are. But to get into their villages and experience it is amazing. Just on that note, one thing is their education. We've actually set up what we call Travel2 Cares, where we're collecting donations for school supplies for the children and that sort of thing, just to help them in the Western world develop their skills and that sort of thing. But in the villages, even when you're down there, I highly encourage you to take things. Take like pens, pencils, coloring books, that sort of stuff. They love it. It makes their day. I went to an orphanage when I was down there, and it was quite an experience. Again, they welcome the kids in, as you can see. They're going to dress them in their local dress. They're just really such welcoming people. They do set up little markets and sell their wares and that sort of thing. The bottom picture, the main picture, is what's called a kava ceremony. Again, it's a must when you're in Fiji. Kava is their national drink. It comes from the root of the kava plant. They grind it up, mix it up in the bowl with water. It kind of looks like and tastes like muddy water. But it's not a drug, but it has a bit of an effect to you. It's not alcoholic. It gives you more of a sedative as opposed to alcohol. But it's a very traditional thing to do in Fiji. You sit around here, like in the picture, and the chief of the village will present you with a cup of kava, which you have to drink in front of him, and it's a whole ceremony, and it's a really cool thing to do. It's so Fijian. It's a must. It's a must when you're down there, definitely. Here's some other examples of some of the activities that they have for kids down there. Everything from cultural, teaching them their traditional dances and that sort of thing, to educational with the marine biology, fun stuff. You name it, they have it for kids down there. I can't stress enough how amazing of a destination this is for families, and it's really something that's well worth considering, because it's the people of Fiji welcome kids hugely. Like it's definitely needs to be the next place on your list to go, because you kids will love it. You'll love it as well, definitely. And that's it from me. So let me open up the floor to questions. I hope you guys have enjoyed hearing about Fiji, and I hope I haven't rambled on too much about my own experiences and that sort of thing.
No, I think that that's the best part about it, honestly. I think that people do think of Fiji as more of a honeymoon destination and it's something that you need to do as a couple, but you're missing out by not taking your kids here because it's just an incredible place for families and for children. And it seriously, you know, even if you're not the type of person that puts your kids in the kids' camps or, you know, oh, having a nanny or a babysitter, it's not even like that. It's that they embrace the children so much that they just scoop them up and they just love them so much and they want to interact with them. And it's just, you're not dumping them into the kids' camp. You're not, you know, having the babysitter come. It's part of what they do, and it's just so much fun for them to interact with everything that the kids just will love it. You will love it. We're so thankful, Andrew, for you to come on and tell us about how Fiji just got a little bit closer to us. And, you know, it's not that far away, and it's not so far-fetched. It's not as exotic as you thought. I mean, it is. It's beautiful and it's wonderful, but I think it's nice to kind of bring it a little closer to us.
And you've definitely said it right. I mean, it comes naturally to the Fijians. It's not, oh, it's a job, we're looking after the kids. No, even if they're not, like you can walk down the street and people will just want to hang out with your kids. Can be a little bit creepy at first if you're not ready for it, but honestly, it's just them. They're so genuine. It's something that you have to go to Fiji to experience it. You just have to go. Like you have to. It's the only way to experience it.
And to speak to the culture, I mean, tipping is so unheard of. Like if you go to tip and everything, they'll just give it back to you. They just they don't even know what to do with it. It's just they love their jobs. They love welcoming people to their country. They love just, you know, welcoming people and, you know, giving great service, and everything is just part of what they do. Considering the length of time of the flight, what would you suggest as a minimum night stay? Andrew, what would you say? I would say 7 to 10 days, but what do you say?
You know what? It is a 10-hour flight in each direction, but I mean, you could do it in 5 nights. You could do 5 nights down there. Definitely. I mean, it's not a weekend destination, that's for sure. But no, I mean, I would say a minimum of 5 nights. I mean that opens it up. I mean, I think people would think, oh, I need at least 2 weeks or, you know, longer to go there. You don't. You could do it in 5 nights nicely and have a nice trip to Fiji.
It's so true. And, you know, the seaplanes and the helicopter transfers and the ferry transfers, they're actually so affordable. I think that we're so used to, you think that, oh, you know, doing a seaplane or doing a helicopter transfer, oh, that's going to just cost an arm and a leg. But it's all very affordable. It's how they get from island to island. So it's really more affordable than you think.
Absolutely. No, it really is. As long as you pack light. That's one thing.
That is true.
Yeah, baggage restrictions are quite heavy, and they enforce them. So pack light, and you're right. It's the only way to get around. So you know you don't really have much of a choice. So the cost is very reasonable, definitely.
Yeah. Because it's all on weight. So if you have a family of 6 like Ryan, everyone would have to pack very light because it's all on weight. So when you're packing in your 4 children plus, 2 adults, then everyone would have to pack lighter. It's different than when it's a couple, that is a very good point, that you do have to pack lighter when you're traveling upon those.
You can, however, if you're looking at going to spend, a chunk of time on the mainland, spend a few nights out on one of the outer islands or that sort of thing, you don't have to pack that light. You can leave stuff in Nandi. There's a big facility at the airport. So if need be, you can leave some stuff there and go out to the islands for a few days and then come back.
Oh, that's a great point. There's like luggage storage just right at the airport, huh?
Yeah, it's affordable too. I've done it myself. Packed too much once. Whoops.
Too many watches and shoes. We know you.
So is there a best time of year to go, or a high season, low season kind of thing?
Yeah, there is. In terms of high season, low season, being that it is a hugely popular destination with Australians and Australian families, high season is over the Australian summer holidays, which is over Christmas. So December and January. January is by far highest of high season when all Aussies travel everywhere. So it's definitely high season then. Again, July and into August is high season. In terms of weather, they don't have summer or winter. They call it summer and winter, but it's really a wet and a dry season. So the wet season is actually over their summer, which is December, January, February. That's wet season. However, even though it is peak season, because the Aussies have the summer break then, so everyone goes then. But it is wet season then, and dry season is over our winter, which is June, July, August. Even in wet season, usually, it'll be like a tropical storm in the afternoon, and then it's hot and sunny again. So it's a good time anytime.
And I feel traveling during high season, you're just going to have more kids there, and you get some Australian buddies like we have with Andrew. So, I think going during the high season, going over your Christmas break, it's just booking now is really the key. You're almost too late, actually. But I'm sure...
The problem with that is, Mimi, the problem with going in high season and making Australian friends is then you're going to have to go to Australia to see them.
True. Next trip.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much, Andrew, for joining us. So much information, so much great information. We thank you so much for taking time out of your travels and to educate us all on Fiji and to tell us all the great things about traveling with your family to Fiji. And we thank you all that are watching that have tuned in after putting the kids down to learn about Fiji as well. And, if you need any help, you know where to reach us at Woodland Travel and Moraga Travel, and we can certainly build you any type of package with Travel2 because they are our preferred supplier for Fiji and for down under destinations. So, Ryan?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Andrew, and thanks everyone for tuning in. This has been informative and fun, and you saw all the things you were talking about. Even pulled my 4-year-old son out of bed. He wanted to hear all about it. So now I think we're stuck, and we're going to have to go. We're going to have to take all the kids to Fiji. They're going to force me to. So thank you so much. This has been great.
Thanks, guys. See you next time.
Bye. See you next time.
Bye.